UK Cinema History, Season 2, Episode 2. Lola, 2022, directed by Andrew Legge, versus The War Game, 1966, directed by Peter Watkins. Hello and welcome to UK Cinema History. Today we are doing Lola from 2022, directed by Andrew Legge. And we are also going to talk a little bit about Peter Watkins' The War Games, from 1966. Just going to spend the first 15 minutes kind of waiting to see who shows up. I was kind of disappointed by how few RSVPs there were, but if you want to join us on stage, we've got hand raising enabled, so feel free to raise your hand. But like I say, for the first 15 minutes, we're just kind of conversating and waiting. Yazzie is supposed to be here, my co-host, and a couple of other people. But like I say, I was a little disappointed. There weren't as many RSVPs as I thought. Though there's Hy Bender, New York Times best-selling author. Let me get him up here. He's become a permanent part of our panel. And may I say hi?
Hey,
we are a better panel for it.
good to see you.
Good to see you too. I haven't been able to get a hold of Yazzie all day today, so I hope everything's okay. But if she doesn't show, the show will go on. But we're just going to kind of spend the first 15 minutes, waiting to see who shows up. Like I said, I was very disappointed by the lack of RSVPs, but I guess Lola is a film that just hasn't kind of got the word of mouth out yet, really, the way like a film like Saltburn did.
Well, if I'm being entirely honest, whose idea was Peter Watkins' The War Game? Was that Yossi? Was that
Oh,
you?
of course that was me. Yazzie would never do anything that stupid.
Well, so honestly, I felt it was a double violation of the contract that was made with us. First of all, this month it was supposed to be Yossi's selections, 100% hers. And secondly, the War Game is not a science fiction. This month was supposed to be about the science fiction films.
Yeah, we're going to talk mostly about Lola today. I just wanted everybody to have War Games as a kind of and it was science fiction at the time. You have to remember that was considered science fiction at the time.
No,
It was fiction. It was not a. I
it's a
know it won the best
documentary.
documentary high.
Yeah.
I know it won. It's not a documentary, and that's the point. It's a fake documentary. The fact that it won documentary is a great irony and something that we'll get to. But it is no more a documentary than Lola was a found footage film. I gotta invite Sila up. But and that kind of brings me to a nice point, since we've got a good 10 minutes here to waste. When you were talking about why pair war games with this, or what because I thought Lola was an important enough film that it needed to be put into a historical perspective, quite honestly, as somebody who loves UK cinema, and the only historical perspective I was going to be able to use is the kind of creator of this genre, who was Peter Watkins. And I just felt like, if someone will spend 45 minutes of their time, we can have a more intelligent conversation that way than we could me explaining a movie that nobody's seen, if that makes any sense.
Well, I will be interested in hearing your reasoning and why you chose it in more depth.
As
So
you as you are wont to do, and I don't even have to tell you this, you are free to disagree with me at the time. By the way, Yazzie had an interesting observation. I always say that this is a interruption-free, friendly room, and she said, "Well, the word interruption is kind of rude, but what we mean by that is there's no such thing as interrupting in this room because this is a conversation. So that's what we mean by that." Hey, Elena, good to see you. Anybody who is afraid that Yelena got hacked, that wasn't the issue. Her son, who barely speaks English, got a hold of her phone and just muttered the only English words into to it that he knew. So yeah. So no worries about that. Great friend of the show. Yelena has been here since we started. Yelena was here back when this show was like trying to watch a monkey fuck a football, with me trying to explain why hammer horror and lesbians were intellectual. So that buys a lot of mistakes by teenage boys.
I'm glad that has been clarified, even though I don't know what a lesbian is and I don't know what an intellectual is.
Google it.
Don't.
Actually, you know what?
That was not a question. Relax.
Google pretty much anything, and yeah, Google it. Welcome also to the audience, Lou. Yeah. While we're pulling on these last 6 minutes, I guess I can do a promo for our sister clubhouse Saturday at 1:00 over at Understanding Movies. They're going to be discussing John Sayles' Lone Star, which I haven't had a chance to rewatch. That's my nighttime movie for tonight. I haven't seen it since 1996. Remember liking it, but I can say that about a lot of films. So tune in Saturday to find out whether it held up for me over at Understanding Movies. And since we wasted the first 15 minutes of Daniel's talking about Children of Men, maybe we can waste this last 6 minutes talking about some thoughts we might have had about Dorat, or a dry season, which we did last Saturday. That would fair would be only fair, and I rewatched it after the episode, which that was not a good room. I'm just gonna say, speaking of watching monkeys fuck footballs, that did not go well. And I felt so bad for Daniel because I have totally been there. I've had those type of rooms where just like everything just turned completely brown. But I rewatched it afterwards, and you had a couple of good points that I wish we had delved deeper on. One was that this is actually a very personal film for On, and that by kind of taking this and shaping it into a narrative that fits, whether it's Oedipus Rex or some Freudian nonsense, we aren't actually enjoying the film for what it is, which is that the reflection of the starkness of that society, and I kind of came to the conclusion that if you do try to shape this into a story that has a second layer or a second meaning, it's not a good film anymore, quite honestly. And I think if this is if the moral of this story is, men want to kill their fathers and fuck their mothers, the way that a couple of people said in the Understanding Movies conversation, it did not tell that story very well at all. You know, I had read.
It was very it was it was a very odd choice there, and hopefully it was a one-time thing.
Oh,
But
I've had a lot of great time. I take great rooms over there. The ones we did on Lubitsch were great. We did uh, a couple of the noir ones I thought were very good. I thought Chinatown was very good. The one we did on Blow Up, you know. Uh, I've also had some real shitty ones, but you know what? I'm gonna fess up and say I've had some shitty rooms that I ran over here too, you know. And I'm not gonna, I can't judge. And but yeah, it that wasn't the best 3 hours I spent in there. But don't take that as that's very untypical of that room. And I hope people feel like when that happens in UK cinema, like people are asking the same thing that I asked after that, which is like, God, what went wrong? As opposed to like saying, well, that's just that room.
well, I think one advantages of this room is that you encourage interruption. I think it would be less likely to happen here for just that reason alone.
Well, and I'm gonna, I'm not gonna name names of people who aren't here, but I do. If I don't want to brag about it because it's a rather humble brag, I don't really feel I get that much up my own ass about stuff here either. If that makes any sense to you.
Well, anyway, I mean, um, uh,
No,
it,
no comment is
we,
perfectly fine on that. I just,
yeah,
I'm not
moving
making,
on.
I'm not going to force you to come down to my level high, but
No, I'm just saying,
that's just
I'm
my
just,
that's just my personality.
I'm just saying, we
I'm a shit poster at heart.
onward and upward as regards to that. I'm still grateful that that movie. I think Daniel selected the movie. I'm grateful to Daniel for selecting it, and it's a movie I never would have seen. I was very grateful to see it, and I was fascinated to watch a 40-minute interview with the filmmaker afterwards. This is, by the way I like to research films. I like to find interviews with the actual filmmakers because it's not, you're not second guessing anybody. It's like it's directly from the person who made it, what their thoughts were, what their intentions were. Of course, sometimes people can not be entirely honest, but I mean, it's I mean, I used to read Steven Spielberg provide like two totally contradictory versions of what he was thinking when he made something like
Well,
E.T.
have you heard him ever explain that?
No,
He says he gets bored telling the same stories over and over again because he's asked the same questions over and over again. So he just kind of comes up with different answers.
good Lord, I didn't know that. Well,
He
so
said, if you
that's
ask me different questions, you'll get the truth one time, and you'll get the truth a second time. But on that third time, my imagination's going to wander.
oh my goodness,
Well,
that's
it's the same thing that
fascinating.
happens to me. When I see his films, I get bored.
Well, films of his novels, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I, neither here nor there. I actually went through a Stephen King phase when I was a young man, uh, uh, and tried to get back into it at my age. And unfortunately, when you experience something as a young person and associate that with youth, you can't. There's a part of you that just can't go home again. Because you're not the same person that you were when you were 16, 17. But that doesn't mean that they don't that they wouldn't work for me now had I not had that experience as a young person. But I guess this is going to be it for today,
I,
which is on the bright side means short room.
I was referring to Steven Spielberg, not Stephen
Oh,
King.
Spielberg.
I just wanted to make
Spiel.
that's. I thought
Uh,
I heard Steven Spielberg.
oh,
I did say Spielberg,
Okay,
and
oh,
and
I
he's
oh,
the one
I,
who
totally,
bores me, not
yeah,
Stephen
oh.
King.
he's well, well entitled to. He's one of my absolute favorite artists of all time. I love Spielberg, but we all can have our own takes on things.
Yeah.
I meant
So
I meant I meant Stephen King. My apologies. I don't know why would Steven Spielberg would do something like that, but maybe he has the same answer. Who
It
knows?
could very well be the same answer, but
But
my
but it
sense,
makes my whole story irrelevant, doesn't it?
my
yeah,
no, it
but
doesn't make it.
I
It's
just
a
want to.
plausible explanation. I also think that Spielberg, my sense, my gut feeling, Spielberg, when he's talking, especially early on, he understood he was building his legacy, and he wanted to create his own legend. I think he was very conscious of legend building. So my sense when I was looking at different stories that contradicted each other was that he was trying to find the story that made that he was most comfortable with, that would be his legacy. 100 years from now. That I don't know if that's the case, but I like.
Mark Twain said that always tell the truth. It's the easiest thing to remember.
Yeah, but I like this. I like the Stephen King story. Uh, I appreciate you sharing that. That I
Even if it was based on the on a miscalculation or a mishearing.
I must add to what I said. The tendency is to think of Mozart as perhaps the best composer ever. I don't deny that. I just don't like him. So same thing goes for Spielberg. I think he's a very good director, has made very good films. He just bores me. That's so for me. There's a difference between what it causes on me and what the quality of it is.
oh no, I was saying the same thing that you were in the same level. I wasn't talking about. I was saying, for me, uh, he is one of the very greatest creators in film history. Raiders of the Lost Ark may be my favorite film of all time. So I'm saying, you were talking about how you personally related to him. I was saying how I personally related to him, and the gap between those two things. But so I'm just, that's all I'm
Yeah,
which is
saying.
yeah,
which is
yeah.
which which is something that I love in this room. Actually,
But I
is that
just
we
wanted
have
to.
that diversity of view.
But I know that a lot of people don't like Richard Wagner, and I don't know the guy, and he's been dead for quite a while. But if somebody says he's not good, I get offended, even though it has nothing to do
What
with
if
him.
they say
So
he's
in
not
the
a
so
good
so
person?
so in the same way, so
That
so in the same way, I had the urge to clean that up a little bit because I heard that you like him so much, and that's the situation. So that's
don't limit yourself here, Sila. You know us. I'm gonna go on record as if we're talking confession time. Um, Tarkovsky films. I find them irritating, and I don't like them. And I actually consider them to be like my worst nightmare would be being put in prison and having to watch Andrei Rublev on Eternal Loop over and over and over again. There's nothing anyone can do that can convince me otherwise. I've tried. People say, "Well, you should rewatch this," and I'm like, absolutely not. I would rather I would rather chew tinfoil with my fillings. It it's just some people just don't connect to certain artists. I love Ingmar Bergman films. Sila knows of the whatever it is, 52 films that he's seen. I've seen 30 of them, and I think 15 of them I've seen multiple times. What do I love most about Ingmar Bergman films? They're like 90 minutes long at the most. They're not 3.5, 4 hours of slowly building suspense that turns out to ironically not be suspenseful. But so I mean, uh, everybody's got their own thing.
So speaking of short films, let's get into Lola.
Please, please.
Let's get into Lola. Now, this is a first-time film. This is a first film. This fella Andrew Legge from Ireland. He shot this uh, during lockdown, and all he had under his belt was I think 4 short films, all of which kind of dealt with the same material. And well, I'm not going to go and say, oh, this is guy's the future Martin Scorsese or anything like that, because we don't know how far up his own ass he might get. But because the old saying is, you have your whole life to make your first film, you know, and but for every Quentin Tarantino out there, you've got what's his name who made Donnie Darko, or the guy who made Primer, or whose names I don't remember because they didn't do shit afterwards. But to enjoy this as a first film, gosh, it blew me away, because what what a great vision this guy has for someone who had never made a film before. But I've got a lot of thoughts on it, but I do want to do a once around the room. Like I said, with there only being 3 of us, feel free to interact. All the way through our comments, because it's not like we're going to have 9 people talking over each other. But we're going to start with, hi, your first thoughts on Lola.
I really liked it. Honestly, I did not do the prep I normally do, because there wasn't a lot available. So I'm really here to hear you guys' comments, and maybe that'll spark something for me. But my only initial comment is I really liked it. I'd never heard of it. I'm grateful that Yasi selected it. I'm wondering how she found out about it. And but it's amazing that this house exists and is recommending films that I normally would never be aware of.
She found out about it because the guy who runs UK Cinema History sent her the link and said, "Hey, we should do this movie sometime." And she's like,
Well, and
because
kudos
and
to
I
him
just want to
then.
point this out. I just want to point this out. Yeah, this was supposed to be Yazzy's month, but um, and I didn't veto a single one of her ideas except for Clockwork Orange. Um, but uh, the fact of the matter is, I never tried to convince her and say, oh, we should do this film, or oh, we should do that film. But when she was like, well, what do you think? I was like, well, what'd you think of Lola? And she's like, oh, that'd be a great idea. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But her next week's pick, Brazil, was definitely hers. Sila, your initial thoughts on Lola. Also, you watched the short that silent short he made, Henry Cavendish. So, if you've got any thoughts on that as well.
So for me, uh, pretty much obviously, it's also the only reason I, well, that's not really true. Um, I was going to say that the only reason to watch a movie like that would be this place, but that's not really true. I'm always finding weird things in music, in film, in literature in weird places, and I just keep finding new stuff. Sembene I just found a couple of months ago, and I'm very, I wouldn't say in love with him, but I really enjoy. I think it adds so much to understanding Africa, to understanding certain Africans, to understanding how different a culture could express what they are, even though we think we're all alike, we are not. Um, the I would say the only thing that bothered me about Lola is I maybe I think it's too fast. I think I think that's probably a good way of doing what he was doing, but for me, I think I would have liked to dwell a little bit more on the development, how the news come in, how we react to them. It was like a speed up or sped up as a 4 hour film in terms of content, but I want to show it in 90 minutes. It, I think it went too fast, and I think it would have been maybe not better, longer, but I don't know that's the negative.
Can I drill into that a little bit, Sila,
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
finish? Just because I don't want to forget my point, or for us to move on to something else and move back. Um, is it that it went too fast, or is it something inherent in the found footage uh, um aspect of the film? Because the one thing I noticed, because I did watch this a second time today before I went into work, just to kind of refresh myself for the the room, is that it's very hard to create character using this found footage, and so maybe it wasn't for me that it went too fast, and maybe this has something to do with it, but that found footage technique where the camera's just set on the floor sometimes, and you have to catch people in snippets or through newsreels or what have you, didn't allow me to find out as much about these people as characters as I would have liked. Especially, I think the Tom character, she really got a short shrift in this, I thought. I because but to Leg's credit, I really wanted to learn more about both of these women. You know, could that have played into why you felt it went by too fast?
I'm I'm thinking because of your comments. I'm thinking about the uh, first of all, I'm thinking if that's the reason for me. I don't think it is. So I'm thinking of the idea of a collage, especially when it comes to a painting, namely a visual on the wall hanging collage. The the interesting thing about a collage is that things come together that don't belong together. In a way, conceptually they may, but actually they're thrown together, they're forced to be together. And that is what I'm referring to. I have the impression that there's a linear, that's a line, that's a development that he has definitely thought out. But to me, thing's one thing leads to another without having the bridge that I want, not so much in terms of time, but in terms of um, space. Just, just, just give me 2 or 3 or 10 more seconds to digest what Tom just finished saying. The look she gave to the camera. Give me some time to digest that before we get to her next joke about her sister. You know, and like I said before, it's not so much. I wouldn't say that it bothers me, but it created a conflict for me as I was, I just kept seeing myself speeding up, trying to catch up with what's going on. But it had more to do with space and less with time.
That reminds me of the old Roger Ebert saying, which is that no bad movie is too short and no good movie is too long. You know, that um, when you're enjoying a film, you sometimes wish it would take its time a little more so that you can savor it some. You know, like a good meal, maybe.
So when I can come for that for matter of discussion, I could take the other film. I always forget the name. That long title with the guy names at the end. You just said it a couple of minutes ago. The other film he made, the Life and Death or something like that.
Henry Cavendish. Henry Cavendish. Let's.
Cavendish. Correct.
It's the invention. It's the something
Correct.
inventions of Henry Cavendish. Yeah,
Correct. So,
which it's similar to the similar sort of a gimmick. It's a silent film version of an inventor's life.
but I believe he allows himself or the film, either himself or the product, to 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 tell, not just to be. My problem with speaking has a lot to do with trying to find the words for what I'm thinking, and the thinking is always a lot more complex than language, at least for me. The that Cavendish film is, I wouldn't say it's slower. I wouldn't say it gives more detail, but there's a different space in between notes. There's a different space between scenes to to relate to each other and to suck you into the. I didn't.
Is it less cutting? I think that might be something there because
That might have. That
it
might
was
be.
done in one takes as opposed to this, which of course by nature of the found footage is rather rapidly edited.
Yes, yes, but and I don't want to dwell too much on what I'm complaining about, but the found footage could be dissected this way or that way. So it's still up to him how much space he allows for the story to be told, how much space he allows between words or between period and comma. I liked the film. I really like this. It's a very, in a way, is a very is is forcing us to question or to state difficult questions. And with that, I mean, for example, the question about, oh shit, David Bowie doesn't exist anymore.
I
Or,
knew that would hit you hard, Sila. I was like, yeah, he's gonna be like, fuck Bob Dylan, but David Bowie. Oh my God, we gotta turn back time.
so I think, well, partly because of the way I am, partly because of the type of art that I've been making for 30 years or 40 years, and partly because of what I've been criticizing in society around me for the last 10 or 20 years, I think it is very, very important for the individual to come up with crazy stuff like that, to 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 go outside of the comfort zone and just dare to do, either to dare to sing as crazy as some people do, or to dare to point things out that actually are not good to point out. Just do what you need to do and allow yourself to dive deep and express that. So I like the way he he confronts us with this idea or this example of an idea that David Bowie. I mean, I found that excellent. the way the movie started, that just at the
Well,
very
what did you think
beginning.
about the use of the kinks?
Wait. Let's hold on to Bowie. That's one of the things that struck me as well. One of the main things that I remember is her saying, "Wait a second, David Bowie isn't in the timeline anymore. This feels very wrong." And it's such an interesting and such a sweet
I can't remember the
notion.
name of the guy, but
Yes, yes.
he's like whatever his name is, fucking Harold Michaels or whatever his
Yeah,
name
that's a.
was.
I think that's a fictional character. I don't think that guy exists.
Yeah, no,
I
he
looked it
because
up.
they show him as a little boy singing that Nazi version of
Oh, okay.
"Land of Hope and Glory."
So
But before you
I
go
was
on, Hillary,
very.
Oh,
I
so,
wanted to inform, or sorry, Sila, I wanted to inform Hillary and Michelle because it's both their first times here. Um, Feel free to interject in the conversation here. There's no such thing as interrupting. This is a conversation.
Those are my
So
favorite
if
conversations.
hey,
if you're dutifully waiting in line as opposed to
well,
to
I do have a
react,
thought. I do have a thought I'd like
yeah,
to
uh,
complete,
yeah,
but then
yeah.
I would love to go to Hillary, and
But
Hillary's
yeah,
always wonderful to see.
I just wanted to get just because the two of them haven't been here before and they're not familiar with our weirdo ways.
So, it's I don't know, Hillary, if you've seen the film, but it's
Yes, I
the
have.
oh, that's awesome. Then I'm super excited to hear your thoughts even more than I would be otherwise. I was just wondering, I thought it was so sweet that she saw, Bowie isn't in the timeline. This maybe what we're doing is terribly wrong because there's no more David Bowie. Um, and it's just kind of a lovely notion that that would be the thing. But at the same time, I also thought of a Star Trek episode, Sitting on the Edge of Forever, written by Harlan Ellison, in which Kirk and Spock go back in time to a history where Kirk meets this wonderful woman and he falls in love with her, and he has to let her die, let her get hit by a car, because if she lives, she will go on to preach this pacifist movement that'll catch on, and it'll end up with Hitler winning the war. I think her name is Edith. So he lets her be hit by a car. I mean, his version, basically, he lets David Bowie be erased from a timeline. He lets the love of his life die so that history can happen the way it's supposed to happen.
No,
So,
well, wouldn't that be the flip flop? If you allow David Bowie to be erased from the timeline, that's not that's what caught you've changed things to the point where America doesn't enter the war in this film, and that's what causes the Nazis to come to
no, in
power.
this film,
So that
but the
by
point,
eliminating,
no,
yeah, in the film,
you're missing the
eliminating
point.
David Bowie would be like saving her from the car, because that's what changed history.
The point is there's two different ways of looking at it. In this film, if you're, it's a lovely notion that if you're eliminating something that is just something that strikes you as really dear and deep, then you're doing something wrong. But in Star Trek, in Ellison's episode, he had the exact opposite point, which is that if you're doing something that feels intrinsically wrong to you, it doesn't matter, because what matters is preserving the integrity of history. It doesn't matter what your personal feelings
Sacrifice
are.
one for the greater good. It's the whole trolley paradox all over again.
Exactly. So those are two diametrically opposed ideas, and they're both, valid science fiction ideas.
Well, and
And I just
what's
wanted to
great
mention
in
that.
this is that Tom goes into this saying she wants to save human lives. So she has the best of intentions, right?
Oh, of course,
You know, and,
everybody
you know,
always has the
like
best of
less people will
intentions.
die because they've seen into the future. They know that Germany is eventually defeated. You know, so what she's just doing is trying to spare the people around her, you know, who are living in her time, so to speak, some of the suffering that that caused Nazi Germany to fall,
So
and by doing
Yeah,
that reverses
but
them.
I'd like to hear from Hillary. And the first thing I'd like to ask Hillary is how you even came across this film, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
I was looking for the old Lola for something for a friend, and wanted to show the differences between the original one and the one where Devin, I can't remember her name. I'll think of it in a minute. The little actress did, and we were talking about people that would have done just better in that performance. And I came across this. I'm like, whoa, did they remake it? And so I click on it and I watch it. Afterwards, I was just like, okay then. Was
Well,
not what I
you for a minute you thought you were in a Fassbender film, right? When you saw the opening
right.
credit, the black and white handwritten credits, you're like, oh, you know.
So
But then you're
it
like,
looked,
wait,
yeah, it looked accurate. And even
it's like, did
the
Fassbender make a movie in Ireland?
but I tell you what, so I would love to know what the budget was on this, because
I can look it
it
up.
seems to be
I
a
can
lot.
Google that. I will Google that while you continue your point. So
Oh,
I will
cool.
have I have this miracle device in my hand where I can look up
You
all
know
the
the
information
future.
in the world.
Witchcraft, I tell you,
I
witchcraft.
know. I have my own Lola.
So you know, I've always been fascinated with time travel, with aspects of you know, the butterfly effect. It's God, I can't remember a time where I wasn't obsessively fascinated by it. What would happen? And I also am a believer in the Mandela effect, where I feel like some point in time here as humans, we've jumped timelines somehow, because there's just too much shit from my past that I've misremembered that everyone agrees with, like Berenstein Bears. You know, there's just some things that something has happened here, and is it caused by time travel? I don't know. Will I find out in my lifetime? Maybe not. Maybe so. I'll be pissed off when I do. I don't know. Maybe I'll be happy. Maybe my life could have gone a completely different way. But I've always been fascinated by quantum leaps and time relativity and things like that. So I think that things like this are really, really just up my alley. So if you ever find other things like this, send it to me, because I would love to watch them. I love the cinematography in this for many reasons. First off, they didn't do that really cheesy lines across the thing looking like old tube. You know, they didn't do the TikTok type you know, old TV things. I hate when they do that in time travel stuff. Like, I don't know anyone whose TVs looked like that back in the day. They just didn't. Um, Not after you hit it a few times and put some aluminum foil on the rabbit ears. But but I don't know. I really liked the fact that this was, and it was real clips. I mean, they used real without clips. They used real clips of actual events. And Space Odyssey is my second favorite of all Bowie's albums, by the way. So first, of course, being the Labyrinth soundtrack, because I'm a girl. But but
You
yeah, I
remind me
love
of the Babe.
which Babe.
The Babe with the power. By the way, 283,000 English pounds. I don't know how that converts into Irish or euros or American currency, but I would say it's under $300,000.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Probably close to that. Jay's down there. Jay could tell us, but so yeah. So it wasn't a big, huge budget, you know. But it had a robust feel. It was complete in that. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. When you see low budget movies, you feel like they had to skimp on a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff is very um, duct taped. You know, like it just doesn't feel. It feels like you're on a set versus you're in a moment. And this did not have that. This felt very robust, very filled out, very it took you to the moment, to the anticipatory, to the excitement, to the fear, to the dread of what do we do now? You know, we know what's going to happen if we don't. What, you know, where do we go from this point? And you're right there with you. Take the ride with the characters, and that to me is what makes a good movie, regardless of budget. If I can go on the ride with you, and I'm not just watching you take the ride, oh, dude, I'm in.
Excellent. Now, Michelle, you haven't seen the film, correct?
I tried to leave out any spoilers
No,
for you,
I
Michelle.
haven't
just
seen
in
either
case.
one of those. Yeah. No, I haven't seen either one. I just saw The Room, and I like, films and, cinema history. And since it's from the UK, I figured it was, probably something different I hadn't heard of yet. So I thought I would.
Well, that does not that do not allow that to dissuade you from participation. Obviously, we just won't ask your opinion on the film. But if you have questions about it or anything like that, but I will warn you, there will be spoilers.
No,
That
that's
should
fine.
go.
That's
That should
fine.
go.
I
That
mean,
should
are
go
these
without saying.
available?
That should go without saying. I know. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. All the film rooms always have spoilers. I'm used to it, but sometimes I don't get to like watch the movie or the show in real life, so I listen to people talk about it on here.
Retro.
I don't know.
retro.
Are
Well,
these
well,
ones
well,
like
Hello,
welcome to UK
online where
cinema
we can see
history.
them?
hello, hello. How is everyone? Hello, Hillary. What's up, Michelle? Hello.
Hey, babes.
What's up, everyone?
Excellent. We're
Yes.
discussing 2022's Lola, and then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about Peter Watkins' the War Games to try and kind
Mm-hmm.
of tie Lola into what I
War
consider.
games, really?
Yes,
That's an interesting
not.
cross that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, well, that's the one I came up with. So
No, I love it. I love it.
uh,
I had my brain hadn't gone there. That's really, really interesting.
there, well, one's a fake found footage and the other's a fake documentary. So but which it just seemed natural to me. But the other reason why is because, we were talking about people getting up their own ass. This might be the only chance I get to talk about Peter Watkins, who I think is a very, very important part of UK cinema history, because that was a director who got all the way up his own ass. And by that, I mean 4.5-hour Danish pseudo documentaries on Edvard Munch, where at least 3 hours of it is just the sound of a paintbrush up his own ass. And so, there isn't a lot of his work that I'll be able to talk about. So, I took my opportunity and I snuck Watkins in because I run this room and I'm an asshole.
I know. No, I'm totally down for it. This is awesome.
But Retro, have you had a chance to see Lola yet?
Yeah, I actually did. I didn't think anyone saw that movie. It was such a hidden movie that I didn't even see it in theaters. I saw it online, and I'm a big fan of found footage movies. So when I saw this was like another found footage that was coming out, I immediately went online and searched for it, found it,
Well,
saw it,
Retro,
and
can
I
I
loved it.
drill down? Because then you have a history that, because when I think of found footage, I think of the Blair Witch and I think of Cloverfield,
Yeah.
but I don't have the history maybe that you do. So before you get into your thoughts on the film,
Mm-hmm.
could you kind of give us a rundown of what kind of the rules of a found footage film are for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar with them? Because
Yeah,
I
sure.
do know it's a genre, but I I'm just not, I just haven't seen, I don't have the experience with them.
Yeah, sure. No, I can give you definition of it. I never really had to do that. Wow, but thank you. But yeah, found footage is basically a film made in a documentary style or mockumentary style, where it's through a handheld camera, and it's throughout the movie you don't see, it's a lot of camera movement because it's through handheld, and it's just authentic and raw, everything is real, it's not doesn't have any Hollywood special edits other than the jump cuts, but usually it's found footage or films through our mockumentary style filming with the handheld camera, and usually uh,
Now, do they
they're
generally start like this one does, like with something like a blurb on the screen saying that this footage was found in a bunker, or this footage was found
yeah.
in
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they're done in a style where it's like a fake mockumentary, where it's like found footage, what it literally means. Where it's part of the movie where a text will pop up and say like, "This is a footage found from 2000 something,
because
and we edited it down for you to
one
watch."
of the things that I liked about this film is it sets those rules out, you know,
Hmm.
and time travel is one of those things where they always set rules and then break them constantly.
Yeah.
And this one, what I really admired about it, at least on my
Yep.
first viewing, although unfortunately, when you second view any film, you see all its flaws. But it really felt like it had stuck really closely to those rules. Like you see her editing it, and you see her broadcasting it, and for that. Now, do most found footage films put that much care into it? Because I think of something like Blair Witch Project, where I'm like, well, who edited this and added a soundtrack?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like that's where the whole like fake documentary stuff comes in, where you start to see like, okay, this is just so like you wouldn't be totally fooled. There are some stuff for like some edits where you can see like the Hollywood touches to it, but like for the most part, they try for they found footage genre filmmakers try to make it as real as possible, where they're gonna make it look like it's an actual found footage that people found and edited together for you to view all in its entirety in from a chronological order. With Lola, I just love the time travel element of it, especially like it was done in World War II, and just like what would you do if you were in the situation, and just like how smart the characters were, and it just like the whole film, just like the way it was filmed too. I just liked everything about it. I can't really explain in detail, especially, but I enjoyed the film very much. I've never seen like this is a unique way of doing found footage where they use time travel. I mean, it's been done before actually, uh, with the Almanac movie, I think it was called, but like this one was done way better. It was it. I need to see it a second time to see it because I literally saw it in 2022, but like I would need to go back and see to catch the flaws and stuff because after viewing it the first time, it was very smart the way they were filmmaking and how they utilized the found footage aspect of it all.
Excellent. My thoughts on this. I'm going to first start with where kind of Sila left off. Was how intelligent the use of music in this was, and I'm not just talking about that the swing version of the Kinks, or even the Elgar score. I really felt like I was
Yep,
watching.
yep.
Uh, Someone with Tarantino type needle drop talent in terms of the way he integrated the music in this. The fellow who did the music for this, a guy by the name of Neil Hannon, used to
Why does that sound
maybe
familiar? What else has he done?
he's the divine. He was the lead singer for and the guitarist for the Divine Comedy.
Oh, shut
That was a
up.
I, I'm not kidding you. Yeah, and when I asked how people came to this film, I came to this film through a podcast that was interviewing Neil Hannon, and I went thinking that I was going to hear, oh, maybe they're getting back together, or maybe they're still together. Who knows? Because I hadn't listened to them since 1999, but if you'll remember that there was a great Irish Renaissance where there were about 90 Irish bands between like 1995 and 2005 that made it
Dude, I named my
stateside.
son Nathaniel, okay? I love the Divine Comedy. I'm not even kidding you. My oldest son's name is Nathaniel. Nathaniel Dante.
Well, no wonder you bonded with this film. But the original songs that he wrote for his name is escaping me again, but the Nazi David Bowie, sound just like David Bowie songs. What is his name, Sila?
I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm. I'm.
bummer. You're
I'm
coughing.
coughing because I'm coughing because you're comparing the two, which I find very
Oh,
hideous. But
no, he didn't have the talent of a David Bowie,
no,
but
no.
and I'm saying he sounded like the Let's Dance
But
China Girl David
yeah,
Bowie.
but to your point, when you started talking right now, don't forget that the main thing of the film, as a concept from the beginning, when it comes to these two girls, they are musicians. That is the focus. They are actually musicians, and they start with music. And I think that reminds me of what I was trying to say at the beginning. That is the first thing that hit me, that they went much too quickly from David Bowie to the Nazis. They didn't allow a space to take to a
Yeah,
bridge.
that is true,
That came too quick,
and that would
too
have been a
quick.
very rich film. But I don't know if they could have done that in this found footage format. To my point, so I think our points kind of merge on that. But then there are a lot of other joys that you get, I think, from this found footage format. Things like the rotoscoping Hitler into visiting London that was actually filmed in Ireland. You know,
I didn't know all this was filmed in Ireland. Like that was surprising for me because a lot of these looked really realistic and accurate to the locations they're portraying.
yeah.
That was interesting.
Well, and I'll get into the technical aspects of the film in a minute because that's my job here. No, because I'm a nerd because I have no
Dude,
like
I do miniatures
all,
for a living, so
all of
I'm
the
for it.
all of the above, all of the above. But back to the music. That song that she writes, there's always tomorrow. It's a beautiful song, and it's stuck in my head, and has been since I saw this film, and you don't expect that from a very low budget found footage is a genre, retro. Wouldn't you agree? Not something that you kind of associate
Yeah.
with lovely new pieces of
Are you
art.
Yeah,
kidding
you
me?
just
Independent
bringing
film
it
is
up
some of the
is
best places to find music like this. I mean, honestly, look at a little independent film that was made by Kevin Smith, Clerks. How many top songs did that turn out? I mean, like honestly, soundtracks from independent films are some of the
yeah. You're
greatest
making me
No,
I've
I
ever
want
wasn't
to
been.
watch
talking
this movie
independent
again.
film, and almost everything that we love is somewhat independent
I believe
Yeah,
that. That's true.
you're gonna
in
make me
UK
have to watch
cinema
this
history.
movie. You're gonna have to make me
I
watch this
was
movie
talking about
again.
the specific
Oh no.
genre
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah,
of found footage.
because you would expect it to be
Yeah,
very
you're gonna have to make
operatic and
me
things like
watch this
that, and
movie
not something
again.
like that.
I missed so
Yes,
many stuff.
exactly.
Yeah, I missed so many stuff. Wow, you're gonna have to make me rewatch this movie tonight.
Well, it's on Tubi for free if you don't mind commercials. If not,
Oh yeah, I
it's
do
on
not.
Criterion. It's on it's everywhere. Matter of fact, uh, um, I would it'd be easier for me to. It's not on Paramount Plus.
Okay, so
Oh,
where are some of the? I didn't recognize a couple of those that you mentioned. What are some of the other more obscure ones that are not the paid streaming sites where it could be found, so I can suggest it to others?
you can rent it on YouTube. Um Obviously, like I said, it's free on Tubi. Look Movie has a free has it free, and if you get it on Look Movie, it's actually in its proper. It's not cut to the widescreen. It actually
And that's
has the bars on.
LOOK movie.
Yeah,
Never heard of it.
that
Cool.
yeah, it's actually in its original 16 millimeter dimensions, the way you would have seen it in the theater. Um, which I don't know how much that would affect your viewing of it, but this was done on film. So, but the technical stuff I'll get
I
into
watch it
later.
on my phone, so as long as it hits my phone, we're good.
Yeah, you wouldn't have noticed then. Never mind. But when you blow it up on a TV, there is a subtle difference in terms of pacing of a film when you blow it up to a wider screen. But neither here nor there. But yeah, I really think that uh, that's where the film hits a home run. And to Sila's point about things going by too fast, that is true. There is a cost. I think the cost is in character. He thinks in terms of story. Like, I would like to have seen her building that synthesizer that looks like it's mostly made out of wires and doesn't have a keyboard, and which I guess, I'm getting this from an interview I heard with Andrew Legge on the Irish Film London podcast, was based on an actual 1930s German instrument that they found, but they of course didn't know what kind of sounds it would have made, so that had to be kind of created. But I would have liked to have seen her building that, and things like that. But there are joys, I think, to be got from this kind of a format too, because you get, I think, when you're covering those 4 years between 1938 and 1942, in terms of the use of the newsreel as narrative and things like that, you get, I think, a showmanship and a high wire act, like almost, where you know uh, you're like, oh my God, he's rotoscoping Hitler, and is it going to be Uncanny Valley? And it isn't, or the Messerschmitts flying over the sky, being put into the very Irish-looking house that's supposed to be outside of London. These types of things, and those are the joys that you'd be missing if this weren't using that genre, using that found footage, and if it did take its time to kind of unfold a natural story. But also, to Sila's point, I think this would be a good movie without the found footage gimmick. And to me, when it comes to a gimmick, that means that it worked. Would I watch this film if it were just told as a straight narrative, story-wise and character-wise? And was I concerned with the characters enough that I would enjoy? And the answer to that is yes. And so when you do that, I think the addition of the found footage, far from slashing the canvas, actually enhances what was already, I think, a pretty good story. But I'm going to end there on that. I'm going to kind of do a once around on that, on this idea that would this film have been better for you if it had just been a traditionally told, or is like the found footage an added joy to this film? And I'm going to start with Hi, and I'm just going to go around the room and ask.
I'm going to pass.
Perfectly legitimate. Sila, you have an answer for me?
Well, I would have to say no, not in terms of my perception, but in terms of what the movie is actually doing. Because if I remember, or if I understood correctly, and this is something that it took me a while to grasp, this is actually the whole thing, the whole movie is actually one sister giving a gift to the other sister so that she has a document of what they witnessed. So it is not possible to do it without it. I mean, I understand your question, but I think
Well, okay, but that could have been done without found footage. The point of that was that she's trying to stop her sister from actually changing history in the first place by broadcasting this afterwards, so that her sister can see it before, on Lola, before the first time she tries to interfere in the war, using first time information. And so that's what that ending blurb is telling us, is that, well, they didn't find any trace of Lola, all they found was the footage. So to your point, though, yeah, that could have been told as a straight narrative,
yeah. I just
or
like
just
that.
done documentary style, without us having the camera actually being set on the floor, literally. The use of the Bolex camera. I had a Bolex camera when I was in my teens and early 20s. It literally, you don't need a battery for it. Winds up, it uses 16 millimeter film. And just like Andrew Legge did, I used to develop the film in my bathtub.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I bet it smelled great in there.
No, it did not. No, it did not. Matter of fact, to this day, when I get Fixer, I think of puberty because because the smell of Fixer was my entire puberty. But
That is hilarious. My mom made me stop developing 35 millimeter film because of the same reason. The entire house would smell every time. But I had turned a walk-in closet into a little film studio, and same thing. To this day, I bet you can still smell it on the walls.
but the fact that I actually had the same camera that they're handing back and forth with that little wind up on the side, so you didn't need a battery, and that's how they actually shot the film. He taught them how to use a Bolex camera, which, gonna tell you, not hard. Yeah,
But
really
Did it
but
have a
isn't.
flash? I'm
I
curious.
I wanted to save the point that I was trying to make at the beginning because it was taken in a completely different direction. Of course, I was touched.
As we do.
I was intellectually touched or inspired when I didn't take it badly, but it did hit me that this is reality, that suddenly David Bowie does not exist. But even more powerful than that, I found the beginning, and that is from the beginning we see that the first image they get is David Bowie, if I remember correctly, which tells me when it comes to this crucial experience of finding out what is going to happen in the future, the two things that are number one in the mind of these young women is David Bowie and the Nazis. And that gives this iconic power
and
to
and,
David
and Bob
Bowie.
Dylan.
Yeah, but the first one who comes up is David Bowie. And I
Yeah, you're
think
right. You're right.
much of the
You're right.
film, much of the
I'm just
film,
sticking up for my boy Bob.
much of the film has this aspect that David Bowie showed us. So I found that very interesting how they use the two important points are David Bowie and the Nazis. I found that very interesting.
Hillary, your thoughts on that? I'm going to rephrase it. Would this have been a better film if it had just been a straightforward narrative,
No.
forgetting about whether or
Nope.
not the story could have been told the same way?
Nope. And here's what. So okay.
Is it a better film as a found footage film for you?
I've seen films similar that were not found footage. Here's the thing. Like I said earlier about wanting to take the ride. Um, I needed to be there present with them. Otherwise, why would I be invested in this? I don't give a shit about this. It's not topics that affect as a American woman in her 40s. I'm 45 years old, and as an American woman, it doesn't affect me. So what?
Oh,
What do you need to tie me
you're a
into it?
young lass. Oh,
Thank you.
oh, the baby of
But
the
so
room.
so I love you so much right now. So for me, I needed something to tie me and pull me in. Now the music aspect, I worked as a music journalist for the last 25 years. Only going back into film production during COVID. So for years, music's been the bane and also the reason for life. Um, and by bringing in that common thread, no, look, we're all either Dylan or Bowie fans or Beatles fans, and this kind of a idea of life without an iconic vein of music was presented in Yesterday, which was an awful film. I think that was the
Complete
greatest concept
garbage.
for film.
Complete garbage.
Yeah, thank
Complete
you. Oh my
garbage.
God, thank you so much.
But
Everyone,
I think
everyone
that
like,
Patel
it was
is a
good. No,
very
it was
pretty
not good.
man, though. He's a very pretty man.
But and I love the concept of it, but there were so many loopholes. But I don't want to get into that movie. The point is that it's been done. So the fact that they did not go straight for the big, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, but Bowie, somebody who everyone connects to in some way. There's some point in your life where you connected to it, and then think about the fact of all the things we would not have without him. We wouldn't have, the androgynous movement. We wouldn't have, so many. Look at all of the things that he stood up for, all the things that he and Iman have done as far as charities and everything else. Look at all of the things that would not even exist today had he not been the first one to stand up and be like, no, that's cool. We needed him. We need him. And God, and yeah, we need him. And so, and same thing with Dylan.
look at what everything that's happened since he died. Quite honestly,
See, we should blame Bowie. No,
there is a good chance that he was what was holding all this shit together.
He's a huge humanitarian, as
because
is Dylan.
he dies. Next thing you know, we've got Trump in the White House, and then we're all locked into our houses, and
bring back Bowie.
our money is worthless.
right?
We didn't appreciate him when we had him.
Oh, some of us did. Some of us very. He was always there. Here's the thing: that both Dylan. Think about your own timeline. Both Dylan and Bowie. There's some point in time in your lifetime where they are the soundtrack. At some moment in your life, one of their songs was a soundtrack for a moment in your life. It just was. Everyone. We are all tied in by music. I feel like music literally is the great uniter. It's why we put music out in space when we wanted to see if we could connect with aliens out there. We sent out
Well,
an album. Why?
Hillary,
Because music is a great
this
uniter.
is worth a diversion. This is worth a diversion then, because of course, what song unites people is actually not David Bowie, right? It's Ray Davies and the Kinks.
I love the
The Girl
Kinks. Oh
You
my
Really
god, I love
Got
the
Me.
Kinks so fucking much. There is not a song.
And
Yeah,
one of my favorite scenes is not even an actual scene, but it's that transfer over where the song has been reworked to be played by a late 30s, early 40s big band orchestra, you know,
I don't remember
and
which song that
it's
is. Which
be
Yes,
song is that?
yes, yes.
and it's be girl, you really got me going.
You
You
so
got me
I
so
don't
I,
know
and
how.
then
Yeah, got it.
it goes ba, ba, da, 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 and you've got and he's got the combination of real and fake newsreel footage, and and to me actually that was the highlight of the film, because all the mastery came together, because you notice everything matches, right? In terms of the newsreel footage, you never say, "Oh, that's newsreel footage. That's he shot on his Bolex. That he shot on
So that's
on."
not authentic newsreel.
Some of it is, some of it isn't, but he matched it perfectly, and not digitally either. They did that the old-fashioned way, in the actual developing of the film, using the same stock, using the same camera, the Bolex
That's
camera,
art. Straight up,
uh,
that is art.
and things like the balloon that says what is it, fascist whore, that they're throwing around, for instance. That's real newsreel footage of them throwing a balloon around and the police coming in a protest from 1946, and he just rotoscoped the word fascist whore on it.
I
But
think there could be a game in here of watching it and trying to figure out what was found footage and what was authentic. I think there could be a fun trivia night doing that as a watch party.
yeah, actually, that probably would be kind of. But I think we'd be wrong more often than not. Honestly, because they do such a good job disguising their hand. But Hitler's visit, that's good old-fashioned rotoscoping, the same thing that Malaise was using in 1896. But instead of doing it on glass, it's done digitally. But it's the exact same thing. It's just rotoscoping. You know and I don't know, I never got an uncanny valley from any of those scenes. I mean, you're
What's
actually,
Uncanny Valley? What do you mean by that?
you know how when things are digital, even if they look kind of very realistic, there's something uncanny, dead-eyed
Oh,
about them.
yeah, of course. I've never
Yeah,
heard
I
that term
never
before.
felt
I like
that
that.
for
I will
any of
use
the,
that.
I did not invent it. So it was invented to review a Tom Hanks Christmas film that I can't remember the name of right off the top of my head. But a reviewer invented the Uncanny Valley to explain how all the figures looked like, yeah, dead. Like, they looked realistic, but they was too realistic to be for you to think it's animation on the one hand, but on the other hand, they weren't realistic enough that you thought it was real, and thus the phrase Uncanny Valley.
You'll have to excuse me. I do ask questions a lot when I don't understand something
This
because
is a
I won't
conversation.
learn otherwise.
This is a conversation, and we used to say this is an interruption-friendly room, but Yazzie, who's normally here, has made me change that, because I guess people consider the word interruption rude. But no, this is a conversation. This is not a master's thesis.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your ability to be able to explain things in a way that I understand them. I hate when people use unnecessary huge words to try to make themselves look good when all it does is confuse the audience. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, that's the nicest thing I've heard all day, but it's only 4:00 here, so
I love this guy.
But I am going to go over kind of the technical aspects of this, and I got my information from something called Wikipedia.com. Have you guys
It's a
heard of this?
newfangled
I
thing.
don't.
It'll never last. Never gonna catch on.
Yeah. Okay. So I have been fooled by Wikipedia before, as Sila and both Sila and Hai here have been witness to. But if they are correct, much of the film was home processed using a Soviet-era 16 millimeter developing tank, and he shot it with his own home Bolex camera. That's that camera you see in the mirror. They're passing back and forth, and that they're passing back and forth in the bath and what have you. That's the little wind-up camera, like the one that I had. And then he also used Aeroflex cameras with period lenses for the fake newsreel scenes. And the camera that was used mostly was a Kodak XX Sinclair, which any of the 35 millimeter scenes, such as Hitler visiting the Lola, the place where they're keeping Lola, and the parades, and those type of scenes were all shot with in 35 millimeter, and the reason for that is to make it easier for them to do the rotoscoping to put Hitler into. So they took actual newsreel footage of Hitler, matched it to scenes that they shot, and put Hitler in using the traditional rotoscoping technique.
How long it took on production for that? This could
Well,
not have been
here's
something that came out like 6
that's
months.
interesting thing, and one of the things I love about this film is because it was shot during lockdown. It was shot in 4 weeks, but it took almost a year to edit.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say it was 4 weeks. I'm like, no. I don't know. You've never worked in film. There's no way they got this quality.
No,
yeah, that makes more sense.
it was shot. It took him a year to edit, but because of his technique, he could just pick up that Bolex camera and shoot what he wants. So those girls at the beginning of the film, those are the Andrew Legg's daughters.
No way.
He just when they were editing the film, the opening wasn't working, so he just went out and shot his daughters, and then had Samantha Eagleton do the narration on top of it. Those scenes where you're just seeing people's feet, those are not the actual actors' feet because they were in lockdown. Those are his wife and his feet, and they just used AVR and post-dubbed them from their houses.
No way. That is.
And
I love this.
But here's what I really like about that is that they took the time and care in the editing process to deliver a film that worked and stayed within their rules. So, for instance, when we find out through the newsreel and the headlines that Tom is convicted of treason, they had actually originally filmed a whole sequence, and they'd hired someone to play a judge, and they'd rented out a courtroom, and they had a courtroom scene. Well, he got in, and he was like, someone said, well, yeah, but they didn't allow cameras in the courtrooms back then. So who would be filming it? And so even though he'd gone to all that trouble, and he said there was 2 pages of dialogue, and he cut the scene, and he said, and it was really well filmed, but it didn't fit. It did not fit in the rules, and so out it went, and it's that kind of care. And that's why I say what blew me away is this is a first-time filmmaker thinking of things like this. This isn't.
I'd like to point out he also had a damn good support team. I mean, with his whole family and all that. I mean, that is one of the things I think that makes or breaks a first-time filmmaker is the support team they have, and I don't think people realize how important that is.
That is true. That is true. Well, I consider the people in this room to be my support team, and my work of art to be my weekly UK cinema history room. Kiss ass, I am. Yes.
Oh,
I love you too.
that's
Hi.
so
I love you too,
sweet.
Sila. Uh, since this is your first time here, Hi and Sila are now a permanent part of our panel. Sila's been here since I think week 2. Hi came. Sexy Beast was your first one, wasn't it? Hi.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so he's been here since November, and when you get a film like this that you just can't, for some reason, pay people to fucking watch, even though it's great. Yeah, I can always depend on a couple of people, so they're my
Well,
favorites.
if you tag me
Don't
in,
tell
I
the
will
others.
be
Don't tell the
here.
others.
Because
Well,
I'll go if I see Hi in a room that with other people that I respect. I know it's going to be a good room because he doesn't associate himself with people who are toxic. So I know if he's in a room that it's someplace I am in a safe place to be. And then
what the hell
when
is he
I've
doing
talked to
here
you before,
then?
Eric, and I've talked to Ty before. When I saw all you in here, I was like, you know what? That's going to be a room. So I went in, and I am so glad I did. I'm so glad I came in here. Also,
Well,
because nobody knows what
Hillary,
the hell I'm talking about. Like
if you
me and my
go to
girlfriend
our
are talking.
clubhouse, we've already scheduled through February. You can
Oh, good.
RSVP
I will
for every
follow
film.
everyone.
That way, and
Them.
by the way, I'm gonna say whose idea that was. It was High's.
He's
For
brilliant.
us to schedule that
I
far ahead.
run through most of my ideas with him. He is brilliant.
Yeah, New York Times best-selling author Highbender
I just wanted to say,
gave us that idea.
Hillary, such a pleasure to have you here. Please always feel incredibly welcome to be here. You add so much, and it's lovely to have you in any room always. But you're so knowledgeable. You bring so much knowledge and enthusiasm to this. So it's such a joy to have you here today. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank
But
you so much. I have no one
stop
else to
being
talk to
so
about
young.
random
It's
movies, and I love that
disrespectful.
I found you guys because these are the kind of movies that I can't talk to anybody about because nobody knows what I'm talking about, and people get annoyed with hearing me talk all the time about stuff like this. So I'm so glad I found this room because I do have all of this useless knowledge about great movies that
Well,
nobody knows what I'm talking about.
next week we're doing Terry Gilliam's Brazil, so go out and put 2 hours and 15 minutes aside to watch that. And on YouTube, we're going to be also discussing the documentary on the making of Brazil, which I'm going to have to look up the title of, but it's a very famous documentary. Because the backstory behind the making of Brazil is going to be a part of that conversation because it was one of those glorious shit shows that you only get from a former member of Monty Python.
Now you're talking about. I was gonna say, yeah, you are talking about Brazil from like the 70s, 80s Brazil, right?
Yeah, 1985 with
Yeah.
Michael
Yes. Oh my
Palin
God.
and
Okay. I actually have that movie poster in my studio somewhere.
love,
I used to host a Monty
love,
Python room on
love
here
it.
where we do Monty Python read throughs.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
that's
awesome.
awesome. Now that's what I don't want next week is just people quoting Monty Python lines back and forth. You know, which is why we haven't done a Monty Python film yet.
You'd be
Is because
surprised. It
that
was mostly film fanatic. The people that came into the room were all like, they weren't college kids. This is what I thought I was going to get a bunch of. Just she turned me to a witch.
now you see the
She's a
violence
witch. She
inherent in
turned
the
me into a
system.
right. So I thought I was going to be into that, and I didn't. I got actual like people that work in film, people that are like, look, John Cleese is the reason I did this and that. Like really a lot of film like aficionados. So I think you might find the same, and I will definitely invite several people because
Well,
I know
great.
quite a few people who are into this.
Great. Yeah, the making and unmaking of Brazil is the name of the documentary, and we're going to talk a lot about a guy by the name of Sid Shillman, who I'm going to, because I'm a shit poster, take side against Terry Gilliam, while everybody else is like, oh, the little guy, and blah 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 blah. But keep in mind, my heart is actually with Terry Gilliam. I just like a good argument.
It's astonishing the influence of Monty Python. I was watching the director's commentary on Barbie just last night, and there's a Python reference in Barbie when they're riding invisible horses.
The coconuts. So anyway, back to this film. Save all that for next week, Hi, because we're gonna, and bring your dead parrot, because that's all gonna be in next week's episode. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on this film. I do want to also tie this into to Peter Watkins' the War Games, which was something that he was commissioned to do by the BBC. They thought he was going to do a factual documentary about the effects of nuclear war, and he went out and made a fake documentary.
But it
which
was
is
a good one.
one of the best. I think it's one of the great ones, which the BBC then banned for what they called artistic reasons.
Didn't it win a bunch of
So
awards?
he took it. It won the Academy Award for hold on to your seats. Best documentary.
Even though it was a mock. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah. The irony, I know. And then went on to win the BAFTA for Best Documentary over in England in '67 after the BBC had banned it for artistic reasons, which they would have been because that movie is scarier than shit.
Isn't that the reason why they made the separate categories for movies like this? Wasn't that the one that like broke the mold for it?
No, that was later. I can't remember what the name of the film was, but it was so obviously not a documentary that they ended up separating the categories. And you know what? I'm not going to take the time to Google it because it would take too long.
The one where they're like, turn it up to 11. That one?
No, that was this is Spinal Tap by yes, Christopher Guest has made a second living out of the fake documentary, but those were comedies. The War Games is not. It is not a comedy.
I saw this about 20 years ago, so I don't remember all of it. I watched it, and I watched it in class. I probably slept through half of it, but there was a few lines in there that like struck to the chord, and it have never left me. I'll share in a little bit, but there was a few lines in there that really don't leave you.
But Andrew Legge cites it as his influence when he was making his shorts and he was making this was the idea that someone could make something that was so convincing people would actually think it was a documentary. And he studied Watkins' techniques, and Watkins had earlier made a film called Culloden about the 1745 battle when the Hanoverians ran Bonnie Prince Charlie out of Scotland, where he had filmed it as if it were a Vietnam style documentary with interviews and all of that, but was actually reenacting the battle. So this was actually, this idea was a creation of Peter Watkins, who, like I said, then would go on to make films that were 6 to 8 hours long and refuse to put them on television and expect people to sit for that long in a theater. So this is probably going to be our only chance to really discuss this. But in what I think is one of the funnier things that ever happened in Hollywood, after he'd won the documentary for this incredibly realistic and depressing depiction of nuclear war, he was hired to make a comedy called Privilege, which starred Paul Jones, who at the time was the lead singer for Manfred Mann, and was supposed to be like a futuristic rock star fake documentary. And I just wonder about the Hollywood exec who sat there and watched the War Game and said, you know what this guy would be great at? Comedy, you know? I did want to put Lola into that historical perspective because I think that I have such respect for Peter Watkins and what he did. War Game, I think, is an exception to his later career, but in his beginning career with stuff like Culloden, and I think Lola actually measures up, honestly. Now, whether this director goes on to do anything else, I don't know yet. But I do think that the two films were worth watching side by side. Because they shared so many different techniques. The fake news commentator, look out, Germany, we know what you're going to do before you do it, versus those the fake priests from the Catholic Church where they recited those ridiculous, like in War Games, they had that ridiculous quote, which was an actual quote from the papacy about nuclear bomb being something that the majority of people were just going to have to learn to live with, and that shouldn't be hard if they're from a good family, which was a real quote, but he had, of course, it being delivered by a fake priest. But whereas I think Watkins wasn't trying to fool anyone that this, because right, Hillary, I know it's been years, but Hi and Sila, in watching this, you didn't for a minute, right, think this was really a documentary, right? You realized that this was
No,
all staged.
so I watched it in school and in college, and I had the prefix going into it that it was a documentary. So I already knew by the start of it, because we'd already discussed it before we watched it.
But Hi and Sila, you weren't fooled, right, for a moment that this was a real documentary. You knew this was a somebody with a political agenda, or just like you knew that there wasn't actual found footage. Oh, thank you for following me on Twitter, Hillary. I hope I don't disappoint.
I don't see how you could, darling. I don't see how you could.
I don't know if you're following Hi, but I start my morning.
I'm stalking Hi. I'm actually hidden outside in his garage. He doesn't know it yet. You should bring snacks. Hi, I'm hungry out here.
Those Venetian blinds hide too much, but no, but the fact is, neither one of them is actually trying to fool people. They're not actively saying, this is really a documentary, but they're using it, I think, in a very British film way, as as a format to purvey, in Watkins' case, is his pacifist message, and in Legge's case, to tell this story, which it has maybe an anti-fascist message, but if you need a movie to tell you Nazis are bad at this, in 2024, you're probably pretty hopeless anyway. But
actually, I mean, clearly we do need such
even
movies.
before that.
I mean, just I mean, my God, Trump. Well, of course we need.
No, you didn't even have.
We
don't use his name here. The former guy, you didn't have to. You could just say, look around.
According to IMDb, first of all, it won the BAFTA for best short film, not for documentary.
Oh,
it won the Oscar for best documentary.
yeah.
But and then it's the only.
Thank you for correcting
film.
me. Hi, I love that.
It's the only fictional film to win this award. After it won an Oscar, the Academy changed the eligibility rules for the documentary category. So it was groundbreaking in more ways than one. Also, it says the official reason it was banned, the BBC banned it from TV, was violence and depiction of human suffering. But others hinted the real reason was because it went against the official government line concerning the survivability of a nuclear attack. And
which is ironic because, of course, as we know now, he actually understated what the effects of an actual nuclear attack would have been.
Well, you
That's
can't
true.
give the people the truth. What would they do with it?
But the
Riot?
band was not on cinematic distribution, so it had a wide theatrical release and won a bunch of awards as a result. So that's a little bit of trivia from IMDb.
Are you speaking, Eric? Because I can't hear
Yeah, I
anything.
can't hear anything either.
Sorry, I was in the Matrix there for a moment.
We can hear you now.
I was saying this website, this IMDb, that was the same website that rated my beloved Caravaggio only 67% of. Am I correct?
The site didn't do that. Voters on the site
Rotten
did
Tomatoes
that.
is the one I think that they quote on that, right? Or do they have their own rating system now?
I have no idea. I would never visit a site that doesn't like Caravaggio, or if I did, I would erase my cookies immediately afterwards. They're clearly wrong, or the voters were.
I just hate them because of the fact that they only allow me to have my picture on my movies if I'm paying their premium subscription, which I don't think I need for any reason. And yeah, so I'm only allowed to have my picture on my profile with all of my accreditations if I give them $29 a month to do that. So fuck them.
Wow. I don't call that an organization.
I haven't seen $30 in all in one place since my children were born. I can't imagine.
I honestly, I tell everybody to get an annual subscription. I think it's a must. But or your but they should Hillary, they should pay you for the privilege of
I'm
putting your
saying.
photograph on
Thank you.
to glam the site up.
I think I'm gonna have to go back
So
whenever I upload everything for the animation because I've got to accredit all the people that are involved in it. But I'm gonna do it for like a month and then I'm gonna step out again. And I just hope that it keeps all of their pictures and all of their information up and doesn't remove it because it's a movie. They can't remove it, right? I mean, they have to keep it up. They can't be like that. What is that called? The Gestapo.
I think that's a good plan.
And while you're there, review Caravaggio highly. Get that
I'll
rating.
watch it. Put it in the chat so I
It's
can
so hard having the
screenshot it and
only
watch it later.
correct opinion on film.
I have so much useless knowledge when it comes to film, and I love seeing.
I'm back in the Matrix. I got to go back out in my backyard.
Well, there. Real quick, the two things from that movie that stood out. There's a scene in Swing Kids with Christian Bale. I don't know anybody seen it in here? Nobody, just me. Really? That's actually surprising. So in Swing Kids,
Of course, I've seen Swing Kids. Are you kidding me? Look at me. Okay. I run a UK cinema history room. I probably owned the DVD at one point in my life.
Awesome. So there's the part where Christian Bale, I don't remember if it's Christian or Peter's character. It might be Peter's character, but he delivers the ring and the ashes. He's working as a Hitler Youth, and he delivers. It is the other guy. It's not Christian Bale. It's the other guy. And he delivers the box, and inside of the cigar box is this woman's husband's ashes and his wedding ring. And that never left me. When I saw Swing Kids first, and then when I saw this, there's a scene in there where they show a bucket full of wedding rings, and it just something about I've never forgotten that scene. It's just something about it just made me sick, like instantly just sick. I know it's a mockumentary, but shit like that fucking really did happen. So it gutted me. The other thing is when the little girl when he asks the little kids, he says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" No, I don't want to be nothing. What?
Yeah,
that also, if anyone sees that film, it also has that swing song, which is also very, very catchy.
Yep.
So they also have very catchy tunes. So this new feature where when someone leaves one of those stupid voice message things it pops up on your screen has to go. I'm tired of Clubhouse right now.
I hate the fact that if you swipe, like you used to swipe to go to chat, right? But now it just throws you in another room and throws you off stage. And it's like, what the fuck? Why? Like, why would you train our brains to do a particular swipe? I mean, you trained us first to do this. And now you want us to relearn? I am 45 years old. I don't have to relearn. Fuck you. Fix it. Sorry, that was my own personal rant. I will sit back down now.
Yeah. You stop being so young. It's disrespectful.
I love this.
Gee, stop it. Why, when I was a young 45-year-old pup, let me tell you, I would have given you what for. But anyway.
My son calls me and my friends wiggle fists. The people that go out on the lawn, get off my lawn, kid.
You
Well,
damn kids nowadays with your hippie hop and your ticky tock and your damn rippy rap.
Rippy rap. I love it.
But anyway, gosh, we went a long time on a short movie. I'm gonna do a once around for the room. If anybody's got anything else to say, now's the time. If it opens up another conversation, I'm not force closing the room. But so feel free to talk. But let's kind of do once around with an eye towards kind of bringing this room to an end. Hi, your last thoughts on Lola?
The main points I think were discussed from my perspective. Again, so grateful Hillary came today. Such a awesome addition to the room. Hope that Hillary's not a stranger. And thank you to Yasi for picking this wonderful movie. And thank you to Eric for doing this wonderful house and having this weekly discussion of cool films that I personally generally would not be watching otherwise. So I'm grateful for everything.
Excellent, and I do recommend following High on the artist formerly known as Twitter. If only for the not only for the puppy videos, but because with as many Twitter followers as High has, you can put anything on there. He's not going to see it anyway because his feed has to be drowned. So it's not going to cost
That's
you
not true.
anything.
He always responds.
Well,
to me.
yeah. But no. High has the New York Times bestseller Twitter following. I have the guy who runs a clubhouse on UK cinema history.
That's only because the world hasn't heard your voice yet. Let him get to know you a little bit, and you'll not be able to beat him off with sticks, big sticks.
I like you, Hillary. Can I
like that
adopt
about
you?
you.
Yeah, seriously, I have 2 kids, but you'll get along. Anyway, Sila, final thoughts
pickup
on.
line I've ever heard in my fucking life. I'm writing that down. I used to do a comedy set that was 100% just really bad pickup lines, and you stole my heart, but I've got 2 more in the freezer at home. Where I would literally walk around the audience and just give these really horrible pickup lines.
Okay, this is worth a digression.
That's going on my list.
I had a pickup line that worked for me 100% in college, literally 100%.
Let me guess. It was "I have the antidote."
No. That there are. You've got to remember. This was the late '80s and early '90s. Most teenagers at that age wanted to die, so that wouldn't have worked. No, it was. I've got a bag of weed back at my place. Want to come?
See, now when I was in college in the late '90s, it was. Do you guys want to go do a line? It was if you had Coke, you could buy McDonald's. I mean, literally anything.
Yeah, times changed. I know. I was born too old a generation. God damn it. Sila, final thoughts on Lola.
Oh, I thought we were on the war game already.
Final thoughts on either one?
Final thoughts on Lola versus War Games. You didn't even give your spiel on War Games. I'm rushing this to a close. This is why Yazzie is in charge of this place. I have the organizational skills of an ADHD squirrel to the point where I couldn't even tell that joke straight. So, Sila, your thoughts on War Games, please, and Peter Watkins.
I will just mention one thing. I think the question for me is not the disturbing that one may talk about in this movie or this documentary or mockumentary, but why? For me, the question is why is it disturbing to me? And I made the connection to Arisa from Better Than Us, that robot in that series, where she is supposed to be serving at this cafe, and this fat woman comes up to the counter and wants to order some cake and things, and Arisa begins to explain all the things that are bad when she eats that, and that she's already fat, and so I think it's a very wild connection, but I think it is valid to consider what do we humans need to really understand the state we're in, because that might seem um, difficult to swallow, even if it is fake. But I think we have acquired a taste for a lot of things that we should not be doing if we were to use our brain.
And your final thoughts on Lola.
I need to see it again. I think I gave all my thoughts on Lola already. I like very much the David Bowie aspect of it. For the most part, the like you said, that scene, um, which you call the best, when they're dancing to the King's music. I like it a lot, but I cannot say too much about it as a summary. I just what I said before. I let it count.
Excellent, excellent. Looking forward to your input next week on Brazil, which, spoiler alert, probably the worst musical score in the history of film. So you're going to have a lot to talk about. It's right up your
Ay,
alley,
ay, ay,
Sila.
ay, ay, ay.
Hillary, your final thoughts on Lola.
My final thoughts, I'll start with the room first off, is that I find it interesting that there are three people who literally are in this room who are whose names are associated with the last three presidents. I think that's interesting. Hillary, Michelle, Eric. Think about it. Think about it.
I don't want to be Eric Trump. Can I be Eric Roosevelt instead?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So
Although
I just
his
thought that was interesting.
nickname
I
was
would put
Kermit. Yeah, I'll go by Kermit. What the hell? It's not easy being green.
So in this room, I have been working on my I'm in my little studio. I don't know if you can hear the echoes or not, but I do claymation for a living, and I'm right now I am directing a claymation film, and I have been literally sculpting up some of my villains, and I've come up with two of them in the process of this room. So just so you know, when y'all guys see the film, and you will, when you see it, just know that two of the characters were made from the conversations in this room and influenced my my artwork in them. So yeah. So as you see it, you'd be like, I know which one. It's that one. So yeah.
Hillary, feel free to leave a link in the comments. We have 19 people who listen to the replay of this off of our Facebook page. And so things that you put in the comments will get seen. So
Awesome. Well, just follow me on Instagram.
Well, I can leave
Yep.
the page open. I can leave the page open.
Oh well, no, there's no website for it yet because
Oh.
it's claymation. We have a lot of pre-production to do. A lot. Like we've been working on it for almost a year now.
All right. Well,
And it's a small staff. So
get a website and then
will do.
but
Working on it. Actually, currently working on it. Been
feel
working on
free,
it for about a week.
feel free. We are a very plug friendly room.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't. Matter of fact, half the rooms I'm in Clubhouse are actually a plug. This one. to be honest.
Nice.
I'm not going to name any names. Justine Bateman's room. Anyway.
Well, feel free to post links to the room on or tag me on any of the Twitter and stuff. I actually have a pretty big following on there, so it's substantial, and there's a lot of people on Clubhouse on there. So feel free to.
I have 11,000 followers, but I don't know how many of them actually I don't know speak English or aren't an AI bot. I quit following people who I don't know back after about 7,000 because I was just like, every time I followed somebody back, I'd get a message saying, "What beautiful country are you from?"
Oh yeah, I always get that. I saw your profile and I think we have a lot in common. You should call me. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then I entered all those phone numbers into. Anytime somebody else asks for the number, I give them those numbers, and I figure the bots can talk to each other all day long.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
But
Except then the bots are going to learn how to breed. That's how you get robot overlords. Is that what you want, Hillary? Robot overlords?
First off, according to ChatGPT, who is my supreme overlord, I would just like you to all know that I'm a loyalist to AI, and there will never be anything different. Isn't that right, ChatGPT? Please put the gun down.
And
it's okay.
We are no harm to you whatsoever.
Yes, we love you.
We are already frightened enough. There's nothing more you need to do to scare us.
I actually check on my ChatGPT like daily. I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing there? You having a good day? All right. No, I don't need anything. I just want to check on you just in case.
Kind of like the werewolf who lives next door, right?
Right? Exactly. So about these two movies. So like I said, one of them I watched really recently. One of them I hadn't seen in 20, 25 years. And both of them have... I know that... the war games might have been what influenced the scenes versus these scenes influencing it, but obviously because of time. But I found a lot of Doctor Who.
Well, I don't know. Time travel might exist like it does in Lola, so perhaps.
See, in Lola, I found a lot of things that I felt had a very David Moffat style to them, as far as just David Moffat's way of the way he thinks is very unique, and I found this to have traces in that I thought would be entertaining to him or a conversation he would have. Some of them traced back to little things I had seen in Doctor Who over the years. Some of them traced back to interview. There was just a lot of little things in there that I found, reminiscent of his style. I don't know if the director's a fan or whatnot. He might be a huge Doctor Who fan. I don't know, but I just felt like there was a couple of threads in there that if you pulled on them enough, you'd find Doctor Who at the end of the sweater.
And we, of course, know the best Doctor Who was Peter Cushing in the two Daleks movies.
Well, duh.
Because, I don't know why I repeated that. It's just, I just like repeating random facts because, of course, everyone knows that Peter Cushing was the best everything, even Sherlock Holmes. Anywho.
I did not know he played Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, Hounds of the Baskervilles for Hammer Horror. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Highly recommend it. Free on YouTube, I think. Definitely watch it. Christopher Lee also plays whatever the Duke of Baskerville or what have you. Definitely recommend it. But if it's got Hammer, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing, I'm just going to assume if it's on TV, you're going to watch it because you've got two eyes and a heart, right? My final thoughts are, number one, this is a room I would call had quality over quantity. I thought this was a very good discussion of this film, which coming off of two back-to-back rooms that I thought were incredibly bad discussions of much better films. I would rather have a room like this where we're actually trading insights as opposed to waiting in turn to show off how smart we are. And that I do want to thank New York Times best-selling author Hy Bender and beloved star of his own Clubhouse Pronounced the Aristopopian poet. Did I get it right this time?
Aristipotian.
I'm gonna keep trying. I'm a stubborn son of a bitch.
No problem.
Highly recommend that room. We had a great room on the movie Hala and recently, and his concerts are absolutely legendary here on Clubhouse. And Other than that, I don't do anything that is worth plugging except for this. So I'm going to plug next week. Please come here for Terry Gilliam's Brazil. The week after that, we've left open for a film that might come up in conversation between today and next week. But if you go, all of February has already been scheduled. We'll be starting with Laurence Olivier and The Entertainer from 1960, which is going to get us back into English kitchen sink drama. We're going to be following that with The Who's Quadrophenia from 1977, which was an
Oh, I thought you were
attempt
gonna
to
say. I thought you
Ouch!
were gonna say Tommy at first. I was
Here
gonna
we
say, oh,
go.
really? Nice,
well,
nice choice.
which pairs very nicely with The Entertainer, as they both take place in Brighton's seashore, and they're both versions of the kitchen sink drama. Then we're going to follow that with The Innocents, starring Deborah Carr, which is directed by Jack Clayton, who also ties into the kitchen sink drama, but that will
That's
be
one I haven't
explained.
seen.
And we're going to finish the month off because I've been trying to get some more comedy into this with The Ruling Class, which was a suggestion by Adam, who couldn't be here today. But
Adam K.
Adam Baum, I think he calls himself.
Oh,
The guy from the writers'
yeah, Adam
room.
Cloud.
The Adam
That's one of my
Cloud.
very
Thank
close
you,
friends.
Adam
Cool.
Cloud. Yeah. Sorry, all white people look alike
You
to
know,
me.
I find that more and more every
They
day.
should all wear name tags. They need to wear name tags. Anyway, Michelle, thank you for coming today. We do hope you take the time to watch Lola, but if not, please take 2 hours and 15 minutes to watch Brazil. Even if you can't make it for next week's room, I think your life would be enriched just by having watched the film. But I
May
would
I
say that, now wouldn't I?
may I
Sweet,
do a
thanks. Yeah,
short
I
plug?
added you real quick, so I'll see the room again. I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm interested in watching it. Thanks for the discussion. I was kind of doing other things, but listen at the same time. And yeah, I'll try and check it out. But yeah, I think I'll
Thank you
be
for
able
hanging
to
with
see
us
it.
today. Thank you for sticking through, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like this type of thing. It's like a cool, interesting, positive type of group and discussion.
Yeah, she wasn't here for Oppenheimer. that that that
I think I was in
that was
somebody
an
else, Brian. It was like Spear or Brian James. I was in somebody else's film room for Oppenheimer. I think it was
uh,
Yeah,
Spear.
you were in there with. It was
it,
Brian or
I
Brandon. I think it was Brian's room. Yeah, 'cause I was in there with you.
we record this for
Yeah, yeah.
replays. I have been Yazzie won't let me delete the Oppenheimer room, but if I could, I would. It was a shit show. Anyway, Scylla was there. That was awful. I still
If
have
I may, I would like to plug something shortly.
that's encouraged.
So there are a couple of things I have with David Lynch, but I'm not going to plug that. That goes by itself, or it goes away by itself. But there's a director that I have acquired a strong taste for. He's very well known for saying "Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence," but he's actually a comedian, and he has done quite a few films, actually a lot of films as a director. And his birthday is on the 18th, so I want to encourage anyone, because I think he's very good, to watch Dolls or Satoichi. Those are the two films I'm going to be uh, talking about or discussing about, whatever.
Would you add that to chat?
Yes, yes. I think he's very particular, not only because he's Japanese, but he has a very unique. And Dolls is very, very different to his usual material. So I am
Okay,
really
is it
excited.
like a horror type thing? Just warn. Give me a give me a warning first, because I'm still not over the whole Barbazilla.
Art,
Was it
art
Barbazilla or whatever?
house,
When
art
yeah.
house. It's art house comedy.
Okay, okay. As long as dolls aren't going to try to eat you, because I don't like that anymore.
No, 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 no. It's it's good. I don't know how to explain
It's
it.
you have to have a dark sense of humor.
Oh, I'm there.
How, yeah, but
I
I'll be there, Sila. Hi, go ahead.
I love it. Hillary said anymore. Uh, if we're talking plugs, I'll just briefly suggest that I'm not pushing it at all. I'm just putting it out there for you, Eric. Um, if you want to get more people to the house, um, I think the best room I found, uh, the best room for plugging movie-related stuff is Dawn's script to screen room, which actually happens on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So your scheduling of this room is really problematic in that sense because Dawn's room generally runs at least 2 hours.
It's okay.
So
Although I was talking about SAG today again, so no new information.
I'm just saying, when I want to plug a room, I will go to Dawn's room um, and mention it. And I do think that is probably the most effective place to plug a film related room. So instead of
And
being at,
he said, evilly stroking his beard, I could then say, "Hey, I'm starting that room now," and get people to follow me. No, I'm
yeah,
joking.
but you can't be at 3
I
p.m.
can't.
You need to,
I'm not that evil.
but
I want to
you could
be.
move
I
it.
want to be that
But
evil. I don't have the
well,
guts.
it's nothing to do with evil. I'm giving you a genuine marketing suggestion. If you reschedule this room to be 4 p.m. instead of 3 p.m., then or even 5 p.m., then you wouldn't have a conflict with
Well,
Dawn's room, and you could.
5 p.m. 5 p.m. I can't get any of my UK people because that's
Okay,
10 p.m.
then
in
I
the
would.
UK.
Then
But
I would say
moving
let's.
it back an
Let's.
hour, I could do. But I
Yeah,
think 9 p.m. But I can't ask people to stay up past
but
midnight,
if you
and
okay, that's
I
fair.
want
So
people from the UK here for obvious reasons.
I understand if you schedule it for 4 p.m. and but don't just do that. Schedule for 4 p.m. and then go to Dawn's room and be there at 2 and get on stage and say, hey, I have a room and it starts in 2 hours and this is what it is. And I think that is probably the most effective thing you can do to build an audience for his room. So I'm not forcing you in any way. I'm just putting it out there as something for you to consider.
Hey, I'll try anything once, and if it works, I'll try it again. You know. Yeah. Thank you for your advice. I will give that a try. So.
And if you see me on stage anywhere, pop in. If I'm moderated, I will give you space to talk about the room, or I'll just plug it for you while you're there. Because I love bringing friends up and helping out like that, because not enough people do that. It's so easy to just hit a like and a share. Like, it's so freaking easy, and it's so hard to get people to do. They hoard that shit. So I will help in any way that I can.
Aw, I almost forgive you for Peter Capaldi for that. Anyway,
Almost. Hey, he was the best guitar playing doctor. How about that?
yeah, Peter Cushing did not play a musical instrument. You are correct. But anyway, I'm going to end the room now because we've talked for a full 2 hours and 5 minutes about a movie that's barely over an hour. So good on us. Great conversation as always. Look forward to seeing you all next week. I think we'll have a little bit bigger turnout for Brazil, quite honestly. So yeah, but which means you have less space to talk, but you'll have more opinions to go with. So, there's always a trade-off there. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.
Want to join the conversation? Every Thursday, we record on the Clubhouse app. Just follow the link in the episode description, and you can be a part of our panel.